migrant violence is soaring as small boat arrivals surge. Ireland alone has seen a 300% increase in migrant arrivals, just as crime and brawls become an ever more regular feature.
The country is becoming so unsafe. In the last year, we've taken in 150,000 migrants, 33,000 asylum seekers currently resident in Ireland. And the country, look, I got a phone call there yesterday from a woman in Kingscourt, County Cavan. Two boys of 14 where there was an attempt to kidnap two schoolboys as they walked back from school. So what the woman is doing is she's had a community meeting already. She's setting up a community alert, and the parish priest is involved, the local pharmacy, the guards have been involved. It's basically parents walking with their children up to school because they are now afraid for the security of their own children. And I understand the frustrations and the fear of many people, because at the minute, it seems in Ireland, Irish people are petty last. We are not the priority. The government, in welfare, in housing, in security, so many things, Irish people come second. And if you're a foreigner, migrant, whatever, that's fine. Even in the sentencing from the courts, if they say, oh, he doesn't speak English or he's from another country, he gets a softer sentence. This is ridiculous.
OK, Herman Kelly, of course, these protests, these patrols are taking part tonight, we believe, in the park in about half an hour's time, actually, in Dublin. And, of course, nobody's suggesting that everybody from overseas is a criminal, and nobody's suggesting that these are especially are a danger. And, of course, there has been some violence against migrants from Irish people. But this is what happens when the police don't seem to do their job. Quick 30 seconds to you, Herman.
Like, come on. In the last 2 weeks, there's been umpteen murders in Ireland. A woman was killed coming into Rosslare Port there a few days ago. This week, there was a Nigerian woman in Cork who was killed by another Nigerian. There was an African killing last week in central Dublin. And then 2 weeks ago in Stony Batter, there was 4 Irish people knifed by a Brazilian migrant. Look, unvetted immigration does not make your country more safe.
Take a look at some of the scenes over the last few months.
You are not criminal. You are not refugees. We lead our country for reason. We lead our country because you it up. We lead my country because I have tough in war for 1 year.
Honour crimes are also blighting Britain. One Kurdish migrant was caught on CCTV mowing down his own son over a row about a woman. Opinion polls continually show Brits are worried about immigration, yet small boat arrivals continue to climb.
At least 150 migrants have crossed the Channel illegally this morning. It's an unprecedented 10th day of small boat crossings.
So it takes the total who have crossed since the 1st of March to more than 2,200.
Well, a third small boat is currently in the Channel and making steady progress towards British waters.
Well, joining us now, GB News Home and Security Editor Mark White. Mark, what can you tell us?
Well, this has clearly plunged the government's border security policy into even deeper crisis. 10 straight days is unprecedented at this time of the year when, of course, we get bad weather in the Channel. And weather conditions haven't been brilliant. OK, they've been just about passable on most days. But again, today, it's very difficult going out there in the Channel. But despite that, in the early hours this morning, about 1 a.m. first of all, and then again at 5 a.m, 2 small boats crossed with around 120 migrants on board. And as we speak, that third small boat that was spotted a little earlier this morning is about 15 minutes from reaching UK waters. And once it does, the inevitable happens. A Border Force vessel will be waiting to pick those up on that boat and take them to Dover Harbour. Keir Starmer, we know, has made a central plank of his border policy smashing the gangs, a law and order approach to try to dismantle those criminal networks that are pushing these boats out in ever greater numbers. And while it would have been unfair, of course, to criticise the new government just 2 or 3 or 4 months in to office, the fact is we are over 8 months into this new Labour government with this policy. Not only has it not slowed down the numbers crossing, we are seeing unprecedented numbers at this time of the year crossing the Channel now, well over 4,000 and at least 20% up on where we were at this point last year.
The Tories are vowing to deport all foreign criminals, yet many would be surprised to find out we don't already.
The Tories are trying to clear up the mess they created of the immigration system. Brexit gave them back the powers to control our borders, and they failed to use them spectacularly, with 1 million people arriving here legally in 1 year, and the borders, of course, being uncontrolled on the south coast over the past 7 years. This plan today, we're hearing from the Tory party, all foreign nationals who receive a criminal conviction will be deported. The amendment to the borders rights will remove the current threshold, which means you can only remove someone if they get more than a year inside. They want to end exemptions also granted under the European Court of Human Rights. That in itself should sound warnings for anyone thinking about this idea, because we are part of the European Court of Human Rights. Will this government, will this Tory party in opposition commit to the next election to withdrawing from the European Convention on Human Rights? We're expecting a whole load of policy forums and groups to be announced next week by Kevin Badenoch, which could take that on, and that's where we're seeing here. The others, campaign groups are appalled by this. Refugee Action, Bevan Andrew, they're saying it's terrifying, ludicrously unworkable and blatant political grandstanding. They're saying that it demands that people who flee from war zones are sent back to where they came from without human rights protection. So it is kicking off the Tories would say all the people they expect to be cross are cross, but it shows, I think, this party is gradually, slowly recovering from the disastrous election result last July and pulling out some policies which may appeal to the right-wing vote, but not Nigel Farage. He said this morning this is shameless posturing by this Conservative Party. He was a party that was responsible for one of the biggest policy failures in modern British history, and they should never be forgiven.
And Chris, of course, people watching and listening are going to be saying, didn't they have 14 years in which they could have done this?
They'd be right.
Well, 100%, and that's what we. And that's what, yeah, Bev, and that's what we ask all the time of the Tory party. You had 14 years to do this. They went through 5 elections promising to cut net migration at one point to below 100,000. It never got near that. In fact, in the last calendar year, nearly 1 million people arrived here legally. It's called the Boris Wave under Boris Johnson's watch. People on GB News don't like us saying that, but it happened on his watch and it can't be forgotten. He allowed it to happen. But that's what Brexit's about. Brexit gave these politicians behind me the power to control the borders. If you can't control the borders, it's back on you with the electorate.